What's up, dude?
Yeah, man, how you doing?
Good. Can you tell me how when Sophia called you and what was said?
Oh, she called me this morning and she said that she met with Wendell and it was a very positive meeting.
It's August 2019. We got the verdict a few weeks ago. 2 more years in prison. And now we're all trying to figure out if there's any way to bring him home sooner. Sophia's still in China, and she's been talking Wendell through his options.
He just wants to come home and he's willing to trust Sophia and what she recommends. So he's on board with this new plan to basically barter with the victim, quote unquote victim.
Good. I mean, that's kind of crazy news.
Crazy news indeed. I mean, we hoped this might be possible after a verdict was finally given, but I was still surprised it happened like this. I mean, if this is all accurate, the judge on Wendell's appeal told Sophia that Wendell could essentially buy his freedom. Now, he'd have to make a video apologizing to the quote-unquote victim and send him a payment.
I mean, with my understanding about Chinese justice works, like it usually is coming down to this compensation thing. And but then like we were operating under the assumption that Wendell had passed because it didn't happen in the beginning.
Back when it all started, Wendell had to choose between paying his accuser or going to trial. Wendell didn't have the money, and he wasn't willing to consider it. We thought the chance to pay the victim ended when Wendell went to trial. But we hoped post-verdict there might be more options available. It was an exciting possibility that we might be able to buy him a shorter sentence. Hearing that Wendell is willing to consider it this time was a pleasant surprise.
I'm cautiously optimistic that this is just a bit. So we just need to let Sophia do her work, and our job is to raise some money. So now we need to be prepared for being able to have enough money to pay this guy. The language Sophia is using with me is like the judge wants this done. She sees that there's no winners in this case because Wendell is sitting in jail and the victim hasn't been compensated. Like this was, they're looking at it as a win-win situation. The guy gets paid some money. Wendell gets to go home.
Wendell gets to go home. I mean, that's the goal. That's the guiding light through all this frustration, the one that keeps Team Wendell going. By this point, we're exhausted. We're dumbfounded as to how this ragtag group of family, friends, and strangers is his only hope. How the U.S. Embassy isn't really doing anything anymore. But this is where we're at. To sit in the frustration would distract from the goal. And now we see a way forward.
We can all just, get done with the bullshit.
To get done with the bullshit and bring home Wendell Brown. That's the plan. I'm Matt Liston. This is Game Plan, the Wendell Brown story.
I did everything that y'all had wanted me to do. Possibly still get this wrong. So don't feel special because it can happen to anybody in here. It can happen to any one of y'all in here. So I felt like he was saying that directly to me. How did I get to the building where all the lifers at? I'm really in prison right now. And I'm around cold-hearted killers.
What up, y'all? It's Joe Budden, here to talk about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to win real money while watching football. You can get up to 100 times your money.
Prize Picks will give you $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Just download the Prize Picks app and use code SPOTIFY. That's code SPOTIFY on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Your teen requested a ride, but this time not from you. It's through their Uber teen account. You drive your teenager around, a lot, to their friend Jacob's house, their other friend Jake's house, to James's, to Jaden's, to Jalen's, to...
Mom? This is Jake's house, not Jacob's.
Now with an Uber teen account, your teen can request a ride under your supervision. They'll ride with a highly rated driver, and with live trip tracking, you'll follow along the whole ride to their friends' houses that all sound the same. Add your teen to your Uber account today. See app for details.
Bye, Mom.
At this point, we've tried many things, including releasing several campaign videos, both in the US and in China. I also crafted one for the judges in China, hoping they could see that Wendell was a person of character and did not belong in prison. While these videos did get attention, the fact is, Wendell was still in prison. It was time for results. The news that Wendell is willing to pay the quote-unquote victim, if we can reach a deal, is very welcome. That said, Dan and I know we have our work cut out for us, as we discussed that day on the phone.
Right now, it's like we don't know how much we need, and we don't know when we need it. Do you have any idea, timeline-wise, when Sophia thinks there could be a negotiation with him and a price? You know, they come up with a price?
I think she's gonna try to do it in this week.
We want to start raising the money now, so that it's ready as soon as we know how much we're asking. After some back and forth, we decide we'll try to raise $300,000. GoFundMe keeps 20%, that leaves $240 after the fee. We're hoping it'll be enough to cover the judge's price, plus living expenses to get Wendell back on his feet.
Tricky asking people for money, though. But if that's what it takes, we'll find a way to do it. Anyway, fingers crossed.
A few days later, Dan calls me back.
She indicated that the judge, it sounds like, has already been in touch with the victim, and there was a discussion about the compensation, and it was about like 300,000 renminbi, which is about 45,000 US dollars.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I never heard that it lowered from 100.
45,000 feels somewhat manageable. We've got 17,000 in a GoFundMe, most from family and friends and people who saw the media stories. Still, we're realistic.
If you're giving money for a sick child or something, that's a different ballgame. It doesn't matter if he's innocent or guilty. Ask people for money to get somebody out of jail. That's a tough ask.
Yeah.
It just is. It's like, the optics on it aren't good. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
If it's not worded right, not only will people not donate as much, and if it's if we frame it correctly, you have obviously more chance of participation. But also with the media coverage, it's like, I think how you're asking for money plays into their story and their narrative, and I think it's a big deal.
I spend the next few weeks making calls. Athletes, local politicians, friends, family, Ball State alums. I'm on the phone with Dan and Scott and Cherie too, trying to figure out how we can get this done. Towards the end of the month, I've got news for Cherie.
What are your thoughts with Ball State, what do you think is their level of willingness to donate on a...
I spoke with basically he's a sports columnist, and now he's become more of an on-air personality, and he went to Ball State as well, and he's pretty well known in the States, and...
You talking about Dan Wetzel?
No, this guy's a little bit bigger, but this is Jason Whitlock.
Jason Whitlock. Oh, yes, I know.
Okay.
The recognition in Cherie's voice, well, it's not exactly positive, and I can understand why. I mean, Jason is a polarizing figure in media and uses his platform to share his strong opinions on sports and politics. As I tell Cherie on the phone that day, this doesn't bother me. We don't have to agree on everything. I didn't hesitate to call him. This isn't about politics. It's just about getting Wendell home. And if someone's willing to help do that, I'm happy to talk to them.
Jason went to Ball State. So when we spoke, he said that he was speaking to the board of trustees at Ball State and that there was a willingness to help contribute to free him and also to help, once he gets back, kind of reestablish himself, which is very important, as you know. Jason is very influential. He's a big-time alumni, clearly well-connected. He spoke pretty confident that if, we can show them certain things, I'm paraphrasing, but if we could show them certain things that they could help pay the freight on this and get him back.
We keep in touch with Jason and his team over the next few weeks and confirm that he'll provide the financial support we need. So now we just need to know, how much do we need?
So I called them yesterday morning, and then they gave me the
amount money. So
What did they want?
they want 500,000 right now.
How much is that in US dollars?
500,000, close to 85,000 dollars.
$85,000, nearly double the $45,000 we were expecting. Sophia seems to read my thoughts.
Even it's much lower than the before what they want,
Mm-hmm.
But it's over, too much for us.
It feels like some sort of shakedown, as if the judge or the victim think Wendell has secret stashes of money. I asked Sophia to talk to the judge again, offer to send some video footage we've recorded at Antoinette's house, anything that can show that Wendell is not at all rich, that his family doesn't have that kind of money. The call with Sophia is demoralizing, but also gives me a reason to feel hopeful.
If you reach a financial agreement with them, what are the chances that Wendell will be set free in the near future?
They want to make it as soon as possible. They even mentioned if we and UPTN can make everything and reach agreement in 10 days, 5 days, they can just use simple procedure and make everything done. They don't want to delay. They don't want to just feel very good.
So you feel pretty good that if we come up and we give them this money, that Wendell, you feel like the chances are good that he'll get to come home?
Yeah, definitely. I think it will happen very quick.
This feels huge. Before I get a chance to send Sophia the footage, she sends me a message on WeChat. I record a quick video to remember the moment.
Sophia says, I just got a call from the court. The court expects us to put money together between 250,000 RMB and 280,000 RMB ASAP.
The judge has finally set a number, $40,000. Sophia doesn't say how she convinced the judge to bring the number down, and I don't ask. I call Jason's team. He agrees to put up the money, and we send it to China. Wendell records a video of himself apologizing, and with that, the Chinese court finally grants him his appeal. We expect it to be quick. Walk in, pay the victim, apologize, get a flight back to Detroit. As with everything else in this case, it doesn't exactly go as planned. Here's Wendell to explain.
I had to write a letter, and they recorded on video of me apologizing, and it was just I did everything, but it still didn't work. They told me I would leave. They said, okay, if you do this, you pay whatever the amount of money it was, you pay, you write the apology letter, or and video recording, apologizing. All right. I thought finally I would be able to go home. And they didn't let me go home.
Despite all the promises, despite the payment being made, Chinese authorities did not release Wendell. The nightmare was far from over.
They take me over to one of the first little meeting rooms. It's a glass in between us. They're over on us side. The judges are on the other side. I'm on one side. I'm on the other. He's telling me you're guilty again, but 3 years. Instead of the 4 that I initially had. They're saying I have 10 months left, so I'm guilty, and I began to cry because this is wrong. How could you possibly still get this wrong? It's not fair. It's not right. I didn't do anything to deserve this. I did everything that y'all had wanted me to do. My family had paid compensation to my attackers. Y'all said if I paid, I would be able to go home. I'm not going home. I'm going to prison. We did exactly what y'all wanted us to do.
what's up?
Before you board your flight, where'd we get that incredible gnocchi?
Hold up. Did you just call gnocchi gnocchi?
No. You're at the airport. No way you can hear me.
Actually, with my new Galaxy Buds 3 Pro from Samsung, I can hear everything.
Now boarding.
Gotta go. I'll bring you back some gnocchi.
Tune into what matters using adaptive active noise cancellation with Galaxy AI. Get Buds 3 Pro now at Samsung.com. Galaxy AI features require compatible Samsung Galaxy phone and initial setup via Samsung Wear app.
Can you hear me? I love you. Hey, what's up, bro? We love you. Hey, we still see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, we do.
We gonna see you soon. Man. We gonna continue to work for you. Man, I love you so much. I love you, man.
Hey, Wendell.
Your granddaddy, Mr. Wendell, is here.
Hey,
everybody is here fighting for you.
Love you.
This is the recording of the first time Wendell spoke with his family in more than 2 years. The call took place the night that Wendell found out that, despite doing everything he was asked to do, he would not be going home.
Hey, Chavo. Yeah. I couldn't wait to see your contagious smile, son. I love you so much.
Hey, I'm so ready, my baby. Like, I'm so ready. Tell everybody I said thank you. Tell everybody I said thank you, and I appreciate their love and their support and their prayers and everything that everybody does for me. Tell them thank you. And I mean, it's only because of y'all that I'm still in this journal, man. If I didn't know everybody was praying for me, everybody was pulling for me to get through, I'll probably gave up the company already. Hey, no, man. I love y'all so much. I hear everybody. I hear everybody. I couldn't see on the video call because the screen exploded.
Okay.
I heard Lance Love. I heard CD. I heard Granddad. I heard my Tom Sleep. My bag nephew. Big D. I said thank you and I love y'all. Thank you.
Okay, we love you too.
Okay, see you soon,
See you
son.
soon.
See you soon, baby.
So I'm sitting there and I'm hurt. You know, my feelings are hurt. My feelings are hurt because it's still not over. You know, it's still not over. The pain that myself and my family has to go through is still not over.
Authorities told Wendell that for his $40,000 payment, they would cut his sentence in half. He'd have to serve 10 more months. As he processed this news, they offered a lifeline of sorts.
Sophia was like, you're going to get a phone call. You got a video call with your family. So, okay, I wiped my eyes. The phone began to ring. I got the phone, started talking to moms and everybody. I heard everybody in the background. You know, everybody was there. I was able to speak to them. It was so good to hear everybody's voice. I heard so many people in the background. And it was a beautiful thing. Like I knew I was FaceTiming. So I instantly wiped my face. I didn't want my family to see me crying or to feel like I was crying, you know, so I wanted to make sure like I looked strong. I wanted to make sure they felt strength. And it was good to see my mom smiling. Soon I picked up the phone. So yeah, to see her smiling, to see her doing well, it was a beautiful thing. And the phone froze. So the phone had froze with just her smiling. And I saw my younger brother. I saw Kwame over her shoulder, like looking. And the phone was froze just like that. So all we could do was verbally communicate after that because we couldn't see each other. So when they passed the phone around, I was able to talk to Mook. I think I spoke to Auntie Dee. I spoke to moms. Spoke to Kwame. I heard a lot of people in the background. I didn't expect all those people to be over there either. You know, I didn't expect everybody to be together. Expecting me to be released right then too. You know, everybody's waiting on good news. I know everybody's waiting on good news. You know, so.
Wendell is right. We were all waiting on good news, and instead, we learned that we'll be waiting 10 more months to see him. It's a blow to everyone. But of course, no one more so than Wendell.
Phone call, it was a beautiful thing to have. especially not speaking to anybody for 2 years. That was hard in itself. But to hear their voices, that to know they're doing well, I feel like that gave me everything I needed to like actually be able to persevere the rest of the way. I remember writing down each day, like taking off a check mark, another day. That just helped me a lot, helped me stay strong so that I may get through it.
Where Wendell finds the strength, I'll never really understand. Once we made the payment, there was so little we could do to help. We tried to trust that the Chinese authorities would indeed release him in 10 months as promised. We relied on letters over the next few months, all while hoping that nothing would happen to further extend this nightmare. In China, Wendell was doing everything in his power to get through those 10 months.
Every morning, every night, they do the counting of all the inmates that's in the room. So it was around like 8:30. Called me. It was time to transfer. Like, hurry up, grab your stuff. And everything I had, took it out. I didn't know exactly what to expect now. I was being transferred from a place that I had been for 2 years. We drove to the prison. So when I arrived, it's like a campus. It was like a campus. A big building in the front. Then once you go through the gates and everything, you go through the gates.
Wendell finds himself at Yudu Prison, one that has a reputation for being even tougher than the detention center he'd spent the last 2 years in. That said, he also has learned he will get to call home more often, but he'd have to face many more hardships before earning those calls. Hard to believe, but for Wendell, things are about to go from bad to worse.
Just walking up to it, I'm looking, and then when I get there, it's like people outside on the yard, but majority of the people are marching. Everyone is marching. Everybody in the group, one, left, right, left, that. Everybody has on the same uniform. Once I walk up to the front of the building where the stairs are and where the entrance of that building is, I'm told to take off all my clothes. They check the clothes that I do have, my clothes, my letters. They check all that stuff. Then I'm given like a uniform. They take my clothes that I brought, my hoodie, my coat, everything that I brought to keep. They took my covers, everything, and they gave me some uniform stuff. Like, I was able to keep like some underwear, like a few shirts, but pretty much everything that I had to keep me warm was taken.
It wasn't no coat. You just had to be cold.
This is the prison where Wendell would spend his final 10 months.
Wu Chi. Like, how long you got in here? Wu Chi. Wu Chi. Wu Chi. So I'm thinking like, 5 to 7. 5 to 7. Like, because 5 is Wu Chi is 7. So I'm like, 5 to 7. Like, man, everybody got 5 to 7. No, but then then I was told, like, no, life. Like, Wu Chi means life. So I'm like, how did I get to the building where all the lifers at? Like, these are all the murderers, all the people who have like possibly the death sentence. I'm really in prison right now, and I'm around cold-hearted killers. People who have killed their parents. And one guy I'm in there with completely chopped a girl up in pieces.
This episode is brought to you by Jira. Ever wonder how those big marketing campaigns that make headlines get delivered on time? It all starts with Jira, the only project management tool you need to plan and track work across any team. Every step of that campaign is organised in one place, from launching the campaign all the way back to designing ads and writing creative briefs. Get started on your next big marketing campaign idea today in Jira.
I was told that I'd be receiving a phone call soon. I was transferred to the prison. So my family, that's the same thing that my family was told. And that's what I was told by the judge and everything. I was excited about that. But once I got there, they were saying I don't have a phone call for months. So you're not eligible for a phone call. The training was basically marching, running, picking up rocks and moving them like big boulders, moving from one end of the prison yard to the other. Spending that attention all day about facing, right turn, left turn, spinning around, marching, running, everybody in sync, all that stuff. It was like you standing there at attention the entire time, learning these rules. It was about 20 rules, but everyone else had like 100 rules. They gave me a different set, but they still was all in Chinese. I couldn't read it. They were just telling me to sit there, you just stand there and look at it like, study this. I'm shui shi, study. I'm like, study what? It's in Chinese. I can't read it, you know? And before we can start marching, we had to memorize those rules. If you were there 5 days, and didn't know those rules, you were punished. And at this time, I didn't have any shoes. I was standing in house shoes. My feet was hurting so bad. They didn't have any shoes big enough for me. Even when ordering shoes, like trying to get Sophia to bring me some and everything, like, the soles on them, I was asking for insoles. My feet felt terrible. I'm out there marching and standing at attention in house shoes. And this in the cold, in the freezer cold. This time they had taken my coat. And so it's just, I had the uniform shirts and like the few shirts that they let me keep. So I'm wearing everything that I have underneath this uniform because we stand in the cold. People passed out, people fell, and then they were punished. There was times where I wanted to tell, Sophia and my family everything that was exactly happening, but I knew I couldn't say everything in those surroundings because it wasn't gonna help me. Like, you gotta think about it. Mm-hmm. The embassy only comes for 15 minutes every month. I got a lot more minutes in this place outside of those 15, So yeah. I say something, and they don't like it. I was supposed to go through the 3 month marching, all that phase. I was supposed to do that 3 months, but maybe 2 months in, my grandfather had got sick. They asked me. They came to me and said that my grandfather was sick, and they had showed me like 3 phone numbers, and I really only recognized one. I really only recognized my mother's, but I guess one was my grandmother's, and the other was the hospital room. Mm. So they told me which one to call, and it was basically like just you press a number. My heart's beating super fast, because I didn't know who was going to answer the phone, and I knew my grandfather was sick. I just wanted to be able to hear their voices. My grandmother answered the phone, and I was like, hello? And I'm like, what's up, baby? And so who is this? So you don't know your grandson's voice sound when you hear it? They started screaming like, oh, hey, baby. So I wasn't even going to answer the phone. I didn't know what number this was coming across the screen. I wasn't going to answer. And We talked for a second. I'm like, yeah, how granddad doing? She let me speak to him, but he really couldn't talk. He couldn't talk. My grandmother said when he talked, he felt pain trying to speak. So I just spoke to him a bit, just let him know I love him and that I missed him, and told him that I was going to take care of the family. Just let him know I appreciate him for everything that he taught me and instilled in me. That he was the greatest father and grandfather anyone could ask for. My grandmother, I heard her in the background, and she said that that he's waiting on me. He said he's gonna wait on me so he can see me, and that he can't wait for me to be able to kiss him on the head. Cause that's how we greet each other. The men in our family, we give each other a hug and we kiss each other on the top of the head. Where you would kiss, your aunts or your nieces or mother, you give them a kiss on the cheek. But us men, we give each other a hug, handshake, hug, and then kiss on the top of the head. I want to be around them. I want to be around my family. I want them to stay strong for them. I want them to, stay uplifted and stay encouraged. But it was good just to hear him breathing in my ear and, getting the feedback from grandma, what he was saying and trying to say, just to know that I got a chance to talk to him. He got a chance to hear my voice. A few days later, he passed away. Sophia still visit me when they allowed her to, because it was time that they didn't allow her to come. I was excited because I got to speak English. I got to be around someone who I felt actually cared. She always checked on me, make sure I was all right. I could speak freely with her in so many ways. Even after I'd been sentenced, and she would still try to send me shoes and things like that to help me to where my feet wasn't bleeding every day. And many times I didn't get the stuff that she sent me. And it was one time they even totally took them. They didn't deny her from giving them. When they took them, they just didn't give them to me. If I wanted to write something, I couldn't give it to her. And it was some days where there were officers listening to what we were talking about. So there was always somebody to translate or listen in on our conversation. And it's not like I'm in a hole. It's not like I'm doing I'm done. I got in any trouble. You just want to say, no, he can't have visits today. No, he's not seeing nobody today.
Sophia relayed these experiences back to us in the States. She told us that Wendell's letters barely captured his reality. We couldn't do much more than pray. Pray that the Chinese authorities would honor their promise that he'd only be there for 10 months and no longer, and pray that nothing would happen to delay his release. From everything we were hearing, it was perhaps the worst 10 months of his entire time in China. Worse even than the original detention center, where he rarely got a hot shower and couldn't drink the water, where feces lined the walls and sometimes they served blood for dinner. Somehow this prison, yes, this second prison seemed worse.
They used inmates as correctional officers, except for without any guns or anything. They had the same uniform as us, but they wore crossing guard vests. You know how at elementary school they had the crossing guard? They wore one of those. They used those guys as enforcers. And these guys would beat on people. They act like they were the officers of the prison. If you didn't listen to them, if you didn't do what they said, dude, it was crazy. I saw a guy get beat to death in there. Literally get beat to death. And it was by the inmate officers. They were beating this guy to death like he laid there lifeless. And he was getting beat by 4 guys. This one guy was getting beat by 4 guys. So the other ones who weren't partaking in the assault was telling everybody to go back to their cells. Yelling at everybody, go back to their cell, go back to your cell. So the one that was over my room, he's speaking to everybody, looking at everybody talking. I don't understand what he's saying. He's speaking so fast. Because he was looking at people in their face, and he was looking at me. So I'm like, what'd he say? The guy from Taiwan, he was actually in my room at this time. And he said that he was telling everybody in the room to not think they're special, because that same thing can happen to them. They don't feel special, because it can happen to anybody in here. It can happen to any one of y'all in here. So I felt like he was saying that directly to me. I mean, I knew God was covering me. I knew that I knew nothing was going to happen to me. I absolutely knew that nothing was going to happen to me. But I also made sure I watched everything that was going on around me. I felt confident that God wouldn't allow any harm to come to me. I have full faith that nothing was going to happen to me. But I also understood where I was. I also understood the possibilities of what could occur.
Wendell's life went on like this for months. Back in the U.S., we didn't know if Chinese authorities would honor the decision to release him after 10 months. I mean, they said Wendell could go home immediately if he apologized to and paid the victim. We raised the money, and Wendell recorded the video. And for his efforts, the Chinese court cut his sentence in half. Now it was early in the summer of 2019. He'd missed nearly another year of his son's life. He missed his grandfather's final days. Could we trust that China would actually send him home in the fall as promised? We couldn't, but we had to make plans regardless. And as we started to do so, I got my next shock. The U.S. government would not play a role. We had to book Wendell's flight. The embassy would help him get to the airport, but it was on us to find and book him a flight. Unbelievable. This was perhaps the most shocking part of this for me. From the canceled meetings on the first trip to D.C., you remember, the day that Wendell's family drove through multiple snowstorms only to have their meetings canceled, to having a crowd-source funds to pay for his release. At every stage, I couldn't believe how little the U.S. government did for Wendell. And don't get me wrong, the government supported Wendell, but his situation apparently did not seem worthy enough for political intervention. So he languished in a Chinese prison for 3 years. But finally, in the fall of 2019, Wendell was set to come home. We were all starting to count the days.
I want them to be prepared when
That's
Wendell
right.
is released. I want him to have to live around there for weeks more after he's released.
I'm on the phone with Antoinette. 2 months before Wendell is supposed to be released. What a wild ride she's been on the last few years.
And waiting on them to send him home. And we have money aside for that.
We don't want any last-minute stuff. We want it in place, ready to go. When he's released on the 24th, he's got his ticket, and let's go.
I understand. It's about $1,500 for one way.
Yeah, we have more than enough to cover that. Who's actually going to purchase the flight?
Sophia is going to give the money to the counselors.
Okay.
To purchase the flight.
I understand. Okay.
When they confirm the flight they're going to take, they didn't want him to go to Beijing. They want him to leave straight out.
Yeah.
Okay, if that's all that we have, I'd rather him go straight L.A. and then L.A. to Detroit.
Purchasing this flight becomes so complicated. The plan is for Dan to wire the money to a friend in China, who will then get the money to Sophia, who will bring it to the U.S. consulate. Yeah, someone at the consulate will then purchase Wendell's flight. At least, that was the plan. Ultimately, the consulate failed us again. I put a flight on my credit card, and the consulate promised to get him to the airport. It's easy to get caught up in the details, but when we take a step back, wow.
I was excited to talk to you today because I knew we were going to be talking about this, and I was just like, I can't believe we finally get to have this conversation.
Yeah, so I will be seeing you at the LA airport.
That's right.
Antoinette and I make plans to meet Wendell at LAX on his layover. My frustration with the consulate didn't last long, because Wendell was finally coming home. Or so we hoped. In the next episode, I meet Antoinette at the Los Angeles airport, and we anxiously wait for Wendell's plane to land. Game Plan is hosted by Matt Liston, executive producer Anjay Nagpal and Matt Liston, story editor and senior producer Danielle Elliott, producer Nicole Cohn, editing, sound design, music by Gerard Bauer and Sam Bauer, associate producer Kinsey Clark, show art by Sarah Eichenberger, marketing by Brandon Getchis, production legal by Bruns, Brennan, and Barry, legal clearance fair use by Rachel Strom and Davis Wright Tremaine. Special thanks to Ball State University, Scott Cronick, Jason Whitlock, and the City of Detroit. From Entropy Media, executive producers Anjay Nagpal, Gerard Bauer, and Josh Fuelestead. Head of operations is Nunya Ebo. Associate producer, Heidi Rudvoets. Development production support, Simona Kessler. Please consider making a donation to Brown Elite Youth Elevation Foundation. In memoriam, Irma Brown, Raymond Brown, and Annie Murrell.